Greetings, everyone. Happy Sabbath. I hope you're doing well. Something I like to do is ride bike. Do you guys like to ride bike? Now, when I say I like to ride bike, I'm not saying I like to ride in the park. I like to ride with a group. There's here in Marrakesh about probably between 60 and 70 people on Sunday mornings that go out on bike rides. And we'll ride, and we like to ride fast. And a lot of these guys are really, really strong. And so when I'm riding with them, it's actually to the point where I'm experiencing physical pain trying to keep up with these guys. My legs hurt, my heart's beating hard, I can barely breathe, and let alone the mental challenge where I'm thinking, can I do this? Can I keep up with them? You know, and I keep asking myself, I see, and I'm like 10 kilometers left. 5 kilometers left. I'm like, can I do it? Can I do it? I gotta keep going. 3 kilometers, 2 kilometers, 1 kilometer, half of a kilometer. My legs are burning. My heart's beating as hard as it can. And I see 200 meters, and then finally we get there. And all that physical suffering that I put myself through becomes just this faint memory and the joy of riding a bike in an exhilarating ride with my friends. Now, I think this is a little bit of an analogy for our physical lives and our spiritual journeys. Sometimes we experience extreme challenges in our lives, sometimes genuine suffering. But, you may be experiencing distress because of not only the situation that the world is in, but because of your own challenges that you're facing. Maybe it's from being stuck inside, isolated from your friends. Maybe you're disconnected from other believers. You're lacking necessities. You're fighting anxiety, fighting depression, fighting loneliness. But I want to offer just a little bit of encouragement from the book of Philippians. In case if you're ever in a discouraging situation, I suggest reading the book of Philippians. It's an amazing book. Read it not just once, not just twice. Read it many, many times. The book of Philippians was written by Paul. Paul was a man that knew a lot of suffering. He was rejected by his colleagues when he accepted Christ. He was beaten. He was thrown in prison. He was challenged by the church leaders. He experienced house arrest, stuck in his house for at least 2 years without ever being able to leave. But what did he do? What did Paul say? What did he think in order to keep himself encouraged? Well, I suggest from the book of Philippians, we can see at least 5 things. Number 1 is that God will never leave you. Philippians chapter 1, verse 6. It says, "He who began a good work in you will complete it until the day of Jesus Christ." God will never leave you. He will finish the journey that he started in you. Number 2, your suffering is real, but through your suffering you can actually come closer to Christ. In 1 Corinthians 1 verse 29, he says, "For to you it has been granted on behalf of Christ not only to believe in him, but to also suffer for his sake." Our suffering actually gives us a closer glimpse into the suffering that Christ had for us. Number 3, in Philippians 3:13, it said our difficulties are not only part of the journey, just as long as we don't dwell on them. In 3 verse 13, it says, "I forget those things which are behind, and I reach forward to those things that are ahead." 14, "I press towards the goal for the prize of the upward call of Christ Jesus," pushing through in the midst of difficulties and challenges. 4, "God alone will grant you true peace." Chapter 4, verse 6 and 7, "Being anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your request be known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds through Christ Jesus." If this were coming from anyone but Paul, it would be easy to dismiss and say, yeah, but that's for you. But Paul, who went through so much suffering, says, through giving our hardships to God, through prayer and petition and thanksgiving, God gives us supernatural peace. Last of all, what I see here in chapter 4, verse 13 and 19, is that God gives us strength for our journey. It says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. In verse 19, he says, my God shall supply all your needs according to the riches in glory by Christ Jesus. So what are you facing right now? Don't give up. God will give you the strength that you need. And at the end of this journey, at the end of this race, may you be able to say, just like he said, sorry, I'm leaving Philippians, just like Paul said to Timothy in 2 Timothy 4, verse 6 or verse 7 and 8. He says, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Finally, there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness with the Lord, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will give to me on that day, and not to me only, but to all that love his appearing. When these moments are a mere memory, may you be able to say with Paul, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. Because when you finish the race, all of these things will just be a moment of the past. God bless you in your challenges and in your life that you're facing right now.